significant differences between 2010 and 2011 accountability system. For the first time, they added commended performance. So these are the students that make, essentially, I'll simplify a little bit, these are the students that make an A on the tax test. They make a 90 or above, close. It may be an 88, but they have a certain score that they make, and that makes up a student getting commended on the tax test. Well, this year, for the first time, all of your students and your economically disadvantaged students, if you were going to be exemplary, 25% of your kids had to be commended, and at least 15% to be recognized. English language learners, second thing they changed, ELL, progressive indicator, they added to the 2011 accountability system. Campuses and districts were evaluated on the percent of current and monitored limited English proficient students who met tax reading ELA standards and or the criteria on the TELPAS. So they looked at that as well. The third thing that was changed this year is the tax modified and tax alternate. For the first time, these are assessments for special education students in all grades and subjects, and they were tested, and those results were included in the results in our rankings. And then the biggest change this year came from what we call the TPM, or the Texas Projection Measure, and it was discontinued this year. It was actually in the system last year. The TPM was used as an additional feature in the system to elevate campus and district ratings given certain conditions were met, namely students that had demonstrated growth over the past years and were on target to reach a passing measure. You got credit for them passing even though they may not have passed. That's called a growth indicator. And while TEA and the system kind of got lambasted and said, what do you mean the student didn't pass but you're going to count them as passing? In theory and mathematically, it does work. And you were giving credit for kids making substantial gains and growing, but yet not quite meeting the standards that we typically have to meet. So with all those things, it was going to become, and all of us three superintendents will tell you, it was going to be much more difficult to receive the ratings this year than it has been in past years. I'm going to predict tomorrow at 1 o'clock when the commissioner has his press conference and when they release data, you're going to see that a lot of the districts and campuses around the state have their ratings have either stayed the same or declined. And the one thing that I want to give y'all a heads up on, as members of the press, I'm going to tell you, don't accept this. Don't accept the commissioner or the governor or anybody else comparing this year's ratings to when the tax started 10 years ago. That is a tremendously unfair comparison, and I think you're going to find that in earlier press releases. That's exactly what they tried to do. Hold them accountable for telling you comparing this year to last year, because that's what we will do. I'll tell you this year's comparisons to last year's comparisons. Even though many more indicators were added, we still need to look year to year. So with that said, and I have some sheets that I'll pass out for you. Brownwood ISD. By the way, I'm going to give you guys a minute to say anything y'all want to say.
You're doing great.
Hey, we keep going?
You're doing well. Keep going.
Okay. Brownwood ISD did remain a recognized district, and Brownwood High School remained recognized. Brownwood Middle School dropped from recognized to academically acceptable. Brownwood Intermediate remained recognized. Coggin Elementary is recognized, and I believe they were exemplary last year. Northwest Elementary was exemplary and is now recognized. East Elementary was recognized, and they're now academically acceptable. And Woodland Heights Elementary was exemplary and is now recognized. This is the first time they've been recognized in, who knows, 8 or 10 years, and I want to explain that. I've mentioned to y'all the commended performance. Woodland Heights Elementary had the highest scores they've ever had since I've been here, and I think a long time. They had 99% of their students pass reading and 99% of their students pass math. They had 22% commended and not the 25 that I mentioned. That's the only thing that kept them from being exemplary. So I think that's an example that you're going to see around the state, in my opinion.